Well, coming up this weekend, a very cool opportunity, especially if you are an architecture and design buff, to get up into the city and check out some places that you may have seen before, but you don't know too well. Maybe you wanted to get behind the scenes or check out the inside of a building that looked pretty cool from the outside. Well, this weekend is that opportunity. It's called Open House Chicago, put on by the Chicago Architecture Center. And what it is, well, it's hundreds of sites from the north side to the south side, east and west, for you to go check out and get a behind the scenes look, a tour at some places, and really just fill that nerd inside of you when it comes to architecture and design. And I have Eric Rodgers on the phone, who's the manager of Open House Chicago. And first off, Eric, I appreciate your time. I'm sure you're very excited to get this weekend underway.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I'm really excited to be here. This is the culmination of many months of work, and we're excited to kick off the event here Saturday morning.
There are not very many cities that can hold a candle to Chicago when it does come to architecture and design. I think we have we're spoiled in the amount of riches we have in that particular category, but that also poses a bit of a problem if you want to go enjoy some of that, because, like you said, there's only about 350 sites across the city that you can go visit, but we only have 2 days, Eric. So how, if I'm interested in getting up there one day or both of the days coming up this weekend, what strategy can I use to try to, like you mentioned before we hopped on the phone here, to put this into manageable bites here?
Well, I think it's a good idea to do a little bit of planning ahead. And to facilitate that, we publish fairly detailed listings of all the participating sites on our website, which is openhousechicago.org. Those have actually been up since early September. And you can go through, obviously, it's a novel's worth of material to read, so we don't necessarily expect you to chew through all of it. But one of the cool things that I think is underappreciated about our website is it's got some really powerful filtering capabilities. Did you find those when you were poking around, Nick?
I didn't get to the filters. No, I really enjoyed the map feature, which was kind of my kind of home base, I think. And then I started to click on things in the areas I was interested in and learned a few things, but I didn't see anything about the filters.
Yeah, so when you go to the site listing page, just a little bit below the top, there's a big red button that says Filter Site List. And if anyone clicks that, you'll get a whole bunch of choices, which I know is a little daunting at first, but this is actually one of the best ways to home in right on the things that interest you.
Here we go.
The things that are in the areas that you want to visit, the things that are open on the day that you're going to participate. If you're only coming Saturday or Sunday, you can filter based on all those things. So if you only want to go to historic homes in neighborhoods along the North Lakefront that are open on Sunday, you can check those 3 boxes, and that's the list you'll see down below.
Or brewed in Chicago with refreshments available. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's a really popular trail of sites. So we've got some thematic trails in there to see where some of Chicago's iconic beverages are produced. One of my favorites and one of the most popular South Side sites every year in Back of the Yards, The Plant, which is a sort of vertically integrated sustainable food business incubator. It's in an old meatpacking warehouse, but there are a bunch of little food businesses there, and there's Weiner beer, one of my favorites, brewed right on the spot. Got a gorgeous tap room, and they'll be participating in Open House. They've been in for years now.
So can you tell us maybe some of your favorites that you've seen in the past 5, 6, 7 years or so, however long you guys have been doing Open House Chicago? Are there some places that you visited that this is maybe a unique place, historically relevant, that nobody really understands or have had a chance to see, and these are the 2 days that you really have your chance to check these places out?
It's pretty hard for me to narrow it down, as you might imagine. It's like asking me to choose from among my 350 favorite children, and I have to be careful. I don't want to make anybody mad, but
I understand.
I have gotten to see a lot of amazing places over. So the events, this will be year number 9 for the event. It's the 6th that I've been involved with on the staff. But I think you want to sort of come up with a geographic target, and then find what's most compelling to you in a specific area, and then kind of build out from there. And some ideas that I would throw out, some really popular and really cool sites. up in Lincoln Park, the Elks National Memorial has been a mainstay of this event, and I feel like we've put its picture up front and center multiple times over the years, but it is one of the most stunning ceremonial spaces in the city. It's got a giant marble-lined rotunda, as well as this exquisite kind of reception hall that looks like it could have been ripped from Versailles.
Wow.
And it's, right at Diversey in the lakefront. It's been a very popular site in Open House Chicago. It took last year off because of some construction. But I expect that there'll be a lot of people there checking that out this year. So if you go to Lincoln Park, that part of town, definitely put that on your list. We're part of a lot of really cool stories because we've been running for 9 years now. There are some sites that have really transformed in the time that they've been involved with Open House Chicago, and we've been able to help them attract attention, sometimes even attract funding, and get people through doors that they might not otherwise think to walk through. And I think one of my all-time favorites that's been in for many, many years, out in North Lawndale on the west side, the original Sears Tower, which is now known as the Nichols Tower.
Okay.
It's one of the pieces remaining from Sears' original headquarters complex. And the first year or two that it was in Open House Chicago, it was, I think, a 14-story stair climb. The elevators didn't work. Paint was peeling. It has been completely reborn as sort of an incubator and cultural space and neighborhood space, with then an event venue in the top floor that's been fully restored with skyline views. And I think what's been really cool is to witness that transformation over the years as part of Open House Chicago. The Foundation for Home and Square has done an amazing thing with that building.
And there's some pretty famous buildings you can get tours of, too. The Chicago Board of Trade, right? You can get inside and go check out the vault downstairs, and some pretty elaborate hotels that maybe you can see some spaces you haven't seen before.
Absolutely. So, all of our busiest sites are downtown. So a word of caution that you should expect to wait in lines if you come downtown. And there are actually some great benefits if you either volunteer for the event, or, which you can still do, by the way, or become a member of the Chicago Architecture Center. You get a pass that lets you spend less time waiting in those lines.
Now we're talking.
But the Board of Trade, they've been a mainstay of the event. They typically open up a vault in the basement that is otherwise kept locked up and off limits. They usually get they're open on Sunday every year, and they'll probably get about 1,100 visitors per hour into that vault.
Okay.
Checking that out. But then right there at Jackson and LaSalle, there's a lot to see. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago has been one of our most popular sites for the last few years. Of course, they've got a money museum that's usually open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, but they keep it open for the weekend for OHC, and then they let our visitors get an exclusive glimpse of their grand banking hall, which is usually only open if you're there on business. So they've actually taken the crown as our busiest site the last couple of years. Literally right across the street from that is 231 South LaSalle, the building now known as the Central Standard Building. Was built as a bank building, and it is still it's home to Wintrust's Grand Banking Hall, which is an amazing space that they've just finished restoring a couple of years ago. I think it's 18,000 square foot banking hall. Can't remember how many columns, around 30. It's enormous and just incredibly impressive. Multiple spaces to see in that building as well. So if you haven't had the chance to explore up and down LaSalle Street, we definitely have a few buildings for you to check out during OHC as well.
And what's really cool about Open House Chicago, and we're talking with Eric Rodgers, the manager of Open House Chicago here, and the website openhousechicago.org with all the information, is the different array of categories of buildings that you get a chance to get into. Residential, you get churches and synagogues and mosques, and you get, like you mentioned, the financial buildings and commercial buildings. There's one building that has always interested me, though, Eric, and that is Lake Point Tower. Isn't that, now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but is that the only residential building on the east side of Lakeshore Drive?
It is, although for
ahead.
complicated reasons, it didn't start out that way.
Really?
There used to be two before they changed the S-curve. This was something I only learned in the last couple of years too. But they've kept that pride of place right there by Navy Pier, east of Lakeshore Drive. So they are a participating site, but they are one of a very small number of sites that required advanced registration.
Yes.
So if you didn't already register for that site for this year, it's already full. But we do expect that they'll be back in the future. They've been in for a number of years. And what they open up there is actually super cool. They have a private rooftop garden that was designed by a noted landscape architect, Alfred Caldwell. They have, in addition to a swimming pool up on that roof deck, they've got a lake, walking paths, trees, gardens, a whole sort of cookout area. So it's just really kind of incongruous and wonderful to get to go up there and explore that space that is usually only accessible to, residents and owners in the building.
So can I RSVP for next year yet?
It'll be a little while before we're ready to take signups for next year, but we do know the dates for next year already. It'll be OHC number 10, and it looks like it'll be October 17th and 18th.
Well, there you go. Okay, so a little information for us to get ready for next year. But I hope that people listening understand that the vastness of this entire, well, I guess a festival is kind of how you call it. And the beautiful thing is it's free, right? None of these places you need to pay to get into. Some of them, like you mentioned, you need to RSVP or you need to be a volunteer or some kind of VIP member, but it's not really going to cost you any money. But can you talk about the priority passes really fast? Is it too late for me to sign up to become a member of the Chicago Architecture Center or become a volunteer?
It is most definitely not too late. You can do that all the way up through Saturday of OHC. So basically at our most popular sites, downtown in particular, but some neighborhood sites will get lines as well. If you have a priority access pass, you're going to spend less time waiting in line. There are also 5 sites in the event this year that are what we call members-only sites that are only open to people that are holding CAC membership cards or priority access passes. The 360 Chicago Observation Deck, actually, at 875 North Michigan, the building formerly known as the Hancock, will be welcoming our members for free during OHC weekend. So if you haven't gotten up there to check out the view and, since the last time you had a relative in town who wanted to pay for it, then this is a great opportunity for that. Another really cool new members-only edition this year in Old Town, a place called the Carl Street Studios, which is, so it started out as a mansion built in the 1870s and had fallen into disrepair by the 1920s and was transformed by a group of artists led by a fellow named Edgar Miller, who worked in pretty much every medium you can imagine, and they chopped up this mansion into 16 wacky artist studio apartments connected with these amazing courtyards that have art on every surface.
That sounds awesome.
And it's still a private residence, and it's a little sensitive. It can't handle thousands and thousands of people, which is why we had to make it a members-only site to kind of put a cap on the capacity. But yeah, to get a priority access pass, all you need to do, you've got 2 options. You can actually still volunteer for Open House Chicago, and all the info that you need to sign up and do that is available on our website, openhousechicago.org/volunteer. We'll be signing up new volunteers, and basically once you've signed up to do that, you get to pick your own shift and location, and you get an email that you can show as your priority access pass. If you don't want to volunteer, your other option, which has year-round benefits, is to become a member of the CAC, and that gets you access to a lot of our other walking tours and special programs and a discount on our famous boat tour. So a lot of great benefits to that, but OHC weekend, the main one, is priority access. And you can do that at architecture.org/membership. Learn more about the different levels and all the benefits.
If you're planning on going out, sounds like a no-brainer on that one. And I went to school at St. Xavier over on the south side there, and I've always been interested in the big Irish castle there. The Givens Castle, I think, is what it's called. And I think that's on the list, too, this year. I got to go check that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, we expanded into Beverly and Morgan Park last year for the first time, actually, and that leapt into first place as our busiest site on the south side last year. A lot of people curious to see what it's like inside the castle, which has been home to Beverly Unitarian Church for a number of years now. I think they might be doing some work on it this fall, so there might be some scaffolding around the outside, but they're still excited to welcome visitors, and there are about a dozen sites in Beverly and Morgan Park, so you could spend a whole day right around there checking out, churches. Actually, Chicago's only meadery is there.
Wild Onion?
Fermented beverage. Wild Blossom.
Blossom, that's right. Wild Blossom, yeah. And I know some good breweries down there, too, if anyone's looking for a spot to go grab a beer. So I got to tell you, the place you got to go to check this out is openhousechicago.org. Click on the map. Just check out the literally hundreds of places that you can check out, but you only have 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, to do so. So make a plan. Use some of Eric's strategies. Go to the website and use those filters to narrow things down. And you're going to find some pretty cool stuff and learn something about the city of Chicago that you probably didn't know before you went in. Eric, anything else I should have asked you but I didn't?
No, I think you've pretty much covered everything that anyone would need to know to participate. It really is a giant open house for the whole city, and we hope everyone will come.
All right, openhousechicago.org. That's where you start your trip. I appreciate your time, Eric. Have a good weekend. Most success to you, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. We really appreciate it.